and go over our programs. Oh, there we go. Go over our programs at Headlands Center for the Arts. Like Beth mentioned, Headlands Center for the Arts is just right over the Golden Gate Bridge in the Marin Headlands. It is a residency space, and it's old military buildings where we have artists from both the Bay Area and literally all around the world come and like join us. They get studio spaces. We're really well known for, or Damon, our head chef, is kind of known for making meals for artists that happen Sunday through Thursday during the residency programs. If you're not part of the residency program, we have fellowship programs that happen throughout the year, including the grad fellow program, which most people are probably familiar with. Our Bay Area fellowship program, which is currently recruiting, and then the Turnus Hall Award, which is painting specific. So we'll go over those three, and then if we have time, just briefly go over the Artist in Residence program. So yeah, and I think we'll have questions. We'll stop for questions at the end, but if anything comes up throughout the presentation, feel free to stop me. All right, let's see here. Share screen of this one. Okay, view slideshow. Great. So we'll start with the Graduate Fellow Program because I feel like that one's going to be the one that individuals are most looking at in this group. If you're familiar with it or if you're not, the Grad Fellow Program, ultimately it selects one student from one of the 6 major institutions in the Bay Area. So right now those include UC Davis, CCA, SF State, Stanford, Berkeley, and then previously it was Mills and SFAI. So it is a fellowship where faculty nominate students to apply. So if you're at CCA, you will have to be nominated to apply. And then after that, you submit an application, and then we have an outside panel that comes in and reviews the applications and ultimately selects one student. You get a private studio space within one of the buildings at Headlands, in addition to the opportunity to participate in Headlands programming. If you've had the opportunity to come out to one of our open houses, that's kind of we host those 3 times a year, and people from all over the Bay come to Headlands they'll come in the studio. We have food that's being served by our Headlands kitchen staff. There's performances that happen. During that time, we also have our Artist in Residence program. So it's kind of like, it's really the moment for the community to engage with artists at Headlands. In addition to that, there's other smaller programs that happen. We have like artist show and tells that you get to participate in, opportunities to collaborate with other institutions or organizations across the Bay, et cetera, et cetera. So ultimately, like with this program, the goals of it are to support recent MFA graduates and try to help them transition from art school into the community here in the Bay. Because, as we all know, it's really challenging to make it as an artist in the Bay. So this is just kind of one of the ways that we try to support recent graduates and encourage them to stay and be part of the community here. So the application and award period, this kind of just went up a couple of weeks ago. So we're starting the process of opening up applications for this. So this year's program is going to run from July 31st, 2024 to July 21st, 2025. And again, it's going to be open to MFAs graduating this year, 2024. So you'll definitely be hearing more information about this process as the application opens up on February 17th, and I'll be sending over information to the institution so that they can pass it on to students. Let me see. So details about the program. Again, that's the award period. You have access to facilities on campus that include like a wood shop, a library, computer scanners. We have a communal kitchen and gathering space. Though I will say it's been challenging for it. It usually is really great for sculptors and painters. It's been challenging with artists that have like a ceramics background because we don't have any, like we don't have kilns. But we're working on establishing relationships with other organizations to make that more accessible. But we've definitely had artists from all different disciplines apply and receive the award. You have the opportunity, if you're in the program, to engage with Headlands artists and community. Again, we are an artist in residence program, so we have artists from all around the globe that come and join us during 3 seasons throughout the year. And that's up to 50 artists throughout the year. So you are, you know, engaging with them in community events and at dinners. I think for a lot of our artists, dinners are really the place where community is built. And they're amazing. Our chef team is like, they make everything from everywhere and are consistently trying new recipes. And if you've never had the opportunity to come to our dinners, try to find someone that can get you on the list, because yeah, they're a thing to experience. Our grad fellows also get the opportunity to live or just stay on campus for a week, in addition to our facilities that include, you know, the wood shop and the library, et cetera, et cetera. We also have housing on campus. So that's actually, I just sent an email today to our current cohort, and we're going to be making arrangements for them to stay on site sometime in May. And that's going to be right before their exhibition happens. Which is another, I guess, perk of the program, is all grad fellows are going to be participating in an exhibition at the end of their program. And this year, we are collaborating with ICA-SF. That's where the exhibition this year is going to take place in July. And we're also working with a curator whose name is Christian Gonzalez-Ho. He's a PhD student at Stanford, and he'll be curating the show. So he's working directly with the artists on trying to identify how that's all going to unfold. And then, of course, by being part of the program, you're going to be part of the Headlands Alumni Network, which we just hit 40 years last year. And it is yeah, there are a lot of people. And with the alumni network, once you're like in that group, you have the opportunity to come back every year, and like, if dependent on availability, and during the off season, if you need a studio space, we try to make accommodations to invite you back and make that happen. We have a bunch of artists right now on campus that are alumni since it's our off season, and they're just here making art, writing, playing music, dancing, whatever the case may be. So the campus is always full of artists throughout the year, and that's it's really special. So eligibility, again, it's by applications are by nomination only. And these are the schools, again, that we work with. And this is the work some people might know Dance. Dance is our current MFA grad fellow from CCA who graduated last year. Selection criteria. This is once it gets into like our zone. So our outside committee gets links to the slide room, and they'll be going through all the applications and reviewing quality of work, potential to develop and advance creative practice through engaging with Headlands' unique sites, artist programs, and community at large. So I guess just to give you an example of that, in relation to Dance's work, when Dance applied, they were able to submit their work and make connections as to how that work was going to unpack at Headlands. And the current project, and not to give it away, but the current project that Dance is working with is they were able to go and locate, we put them in connection with National Park Service, and they were able to go get, they wanted the chains that recently came off, that they took off, that were by the Golden Gate Bridge, which is huge. They're like huge chains. And what Dance is going to do is they're going to use those chains and create a dye out of it, and then dye fabric and then weave something together. So I hope that like that's the connection between Dance's work and like trying to like connecting it to the space, and you know, letting us know like that's like relationship. And then in addition to that, ability to present on site and contribute dynamically to the community of Headlands artists. So we want you to be as involved as possible. And we know that this is really challenging, because the reality is for a lot of our artists that stay and participate in the program have to work. This past year, I was helping a couple of artists with like work applications and resumes and whatnot, just to get them settled in the community, because that's like another huge part of it. We don't provide housing, or as you may know, like Headlands is hard to get to, so you kind of have to have your own car to get there. So this one we acknowledge is kind of hard, but a lot of the artists this year have been able to make it to the dinners, because again, they happen. You're open to attend anywhere between Sunday and Thursday. You can go to as many as you want or as little as you want. So and then selection process, again, you'll be nominated by your department, so consult your advisor chair for like what that nomination process looks like. Nominees will submit applications materials to Headlands via slide room, and they're reviewed by a jury of knowledgeable and esteemed artists and art professionals. I still have to identify who those individuals are going to be this year, but typically they do include one alumni from the year previously, like the previous year. And then they'll evaluate each artist's materials and select finalists. And then once finalists are selected, we will reach out for you all to present your work on Zoom for 20 minutes. So, and then awardees will be notified in early May 2024. So any questions about the grad fellow fellowship? You good? That was everything? Cool. Sweet. Well, I'm excited to send out all the information in the next coming weeks. So that's going to start. You'll be seeing more information about that hopefully on campus soon. So the Bay Area Fellowship, this one is not necessarily, I wouldn't say that it's not necessarily meant for recent graduates, but it is definitely geared towards individuals that have a little bit more of an established practice. Wow, this is, I actually didn't realize Toria works at CCA also. I don't know if anyone's worked with Toria, but Toria was one of our Bay Area fellows and part of our first cohort. That's funny. So yeah, the BFA or the Bay Area Fellowship engages artists in a different way than grad fellows. It's more, I like to tell individuals that it's more like it's a very deep relationship, because we work with artists in kind of identifying what the fellowship is going to look like. So what that means is, unlike the grad fellowship where artists are coming to Headlands and it's just like, you get a studio, these are the programs you get to participate in, here are the dinners, like this is what we have to offer, and like you can take what you can like participate in. The Bay Area fellows, those artists come to us and like we work collaboratively to be like, okay, like this is your practice, this is like the funding that we have to make like projects happen. Like, what do you want to do? And we work together to kind of unpack that throughout the year. So that's why applicants should come with a desire to work closely with their fellowship cohort and Headlands staff to intentionally design the vision, scope, and allocations of resources for their fellowship. Um, so annual or fellows get $20,000 a year stipend. So that is just money that goes into their bank account on a monthly basis, and I forget the number that it breaks down every month. But we don't ask questions on how that's spent. Um, in that, we also cover the tax burden and health coverage reimbursement, which is roughly 14 grand a year. And then additional available resources such as a studio space, convenience space, staff time, and expertise, and other resources as available per project basis. So an example of that is another CCA grad, Arlene Correa Valencia, has reached out multiple times because she needs studio space to showcase work for like studio visits. And she lives up in Napa, so she comes down and we give her a studio space at Headlands, and she sets up and she invites whoever she's meeting with to come through and do a studio visit. And then at the end of the studio visit, just packs up and goes. So that's kind of an example that will always be available to her as an alumni. And it's kind of available to any of our alumni, actually. We love to keep those relationships. So yeah, and then staff time and expertise. These artists that are selected work with me pretty directly, and I help with project management. I help with keeping track of budgets. I help with establishing relationships with any institution that the artist wants to collaborate with, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of, and we work together on like identifying what that is, or like what project it is that what the project needs. So that gives artists the ability to just focus on what they want to do and accomplish during their fellowship. So program goals and objectives. Again, this is like a different way to engage Bay Area artists at key moments in their careers. One thing that I like to say about that is like, once you get to a place where like there is a project that you want to do and you're like been itching to do it, but like haven't had the support and ability to make it happen, that's kind of where like you come into the picture, and like this is like the perfect fellowship for you. So another example, Simone Bailey, I don't know if Simone graduated from SFAI, is working on a publication right now that they've been wanting to do for years, but haven't had the funding or ability to do it. So this year is the year that we're actually doing that. So it's kind of exciting to see that happen. So build meaningful connections between the Bay Area arts community and Headlands visiting artists and fellows. I will say this fellowship isn't an on-site fellowship. Like, you don't get a studio on site and you don't get to live on site. A lot of our artists have studios off campus, but they're still welcome to come to all the dinners. They still get to participate in open houses. They participate in members events, et cetera, et cetera. So they're still very much part of the community, but they don't have a space on site. And then challenge to rethink traditional power dynamics between arts and nonprofits and artists by engaging with artists as full partners and collaborators. So again, your artists are just not coming to us and we're not just giving them what we have. We're working collaboratively to think of like what their fellowship exactly is going to look like. And all of our artists in our current cohort literally need like completely different things. So it really does vary. I hope that makes sense. So during their time, fellows are expected to collaborate on developing 2 to 3 engagements with Headland staff. This coming application year, the fellowship is open for 3 years. Previously, it was 2. So every year we just try to do some kind of program and invite the public to participate. This past year, we had Arlene's program which was amazing and was insanely popular. It was a reclaiming ceremony because Arlene didn't get to experience what having a wedding felt like because of the living situation. So ultimately, we decided to give her a wedding, her and her partner Nelson a wedding. So we had a mariachi, we had a taco crew come through, we had drinks, and we just invited the community to come and participate in it. So, but it doesn't have to be like this kind of event. It can be an exhibition. It could be again, like Simone is working on a publication and a record. It literally could look like anything, but we really try to encourage a way to like connect the community. So then we talked about open houses. Turn Us All Award. So the Turn Us All Award has been around since 2023. And it has recognized one local painter each year, supporting them and taking the first major steps towards establishing a career in the Bay Area. Turn Us All awardees, I think the big thing that they're kind of known for getting is probably one of the biggest studios at Headlands. It is pretty massive compared to the studios that you get in grad school. And yeah, a lot like our grad fellowship. It's ultimately there to help support an artist for a full year. And they get a stipend of 10 grand in addition to a private studio, and then everything else that we mentioned as far as being part of the Headlands creative community that includes the dinners, the open houses, housing, a stay in housing, et cetera, et cetera. So let's see, you mentioned all this. Gregory Rick, CCA grad. I swear I didn't plan this. I guess just we have a lot of CCA people.
No, this is great. I mean, it shows the connection and the community for sure.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's pretty CCA heavy. So you all have a good chance of getting all these awards. So yeah, I think our Turn Us All award it's also really competitive. And now I know I was a SFAI grad, and now that SFAI is like out of the picture, it's been, I think, a little challenging trying to like encourage a lot of people to apply for this award. So we're really trying to push this year to like bring it back to like its full capacity and make it really like what traditionally it has been. So if you're a painter and you're working like, I think trying to define what painter is, because I think a lot of people have questions about like what is painting, but ultimately it's like 2D work that's up on a wall of some sorts. So so the award period for 2025 26 is or 2024 26 25 whatever it is to be determined. So that's going to be coming up soon. But yeah, it's a year-long residency with a $10,000 stipend. Final projects are typically in the form of an exhibition or a publication. This year, Lauren Yamato, we're meeting next week to identify what the current Turn Us All awardee, what they're going to be doing for their final project. And again, we'll be working with me directly to make that happen. You get the studio space, you get the chef meals, you get the facility access, engagement with Headlands artists and community, show and tell, open houses, etc., etc. So yeah, work with paint primarily with paint on a two-dimensional surface. Where'd you go? Oh no, there. And then artists primary residents must be in the Bay Area, as defined as Alameda, Contra Costa, Marin, Napa, Santa Clara, San Francisco, San Mateo, Solano, and Sonoma counties. And then, yeah, artists in early stages of their career and can show a dedication to their practice. So graduation from an accredited MFA program within the past 5 years, or recent non-academic experience and dedication. So once you graduate, this will be open for you to apply within 5 years. Everything's blocking. I don't know what the last thing says, but I think it's something along the lines of Retrospective showing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. None of that. So
Yeah,
feel
has not had a retrospective showing with a significant institution or gallery. I can see it on my end.
oh great.
Yeah.
It's just my little bar is blocking it. Yeah,
Okay.
so you don't have to be a hot shot yet. But that this opportunity will get you there. Um, and then alumni of Headlands artist programs are eligible to apply, which includes all the other awards that artists can get during the artist in residence season. Um, and then you may not be enrolled in a degree granting program during the term of the award. So how are we doing with time? We're good?
We are good. We have, we're almost at 2:30. I know you've covered a lot of territory, but this is terrific. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat as well. We'll keep checking that, but have time towards the end.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So selection criteria, merit of past work, demonstrated commitment to pursuing excellence and innovation in the discipline of painting, readiness to engage with and benefit from the experience at Headlands, and then economic need will also be considered. So I will say, I think this one, unlike the Bay Area Fellow and the Graduate Fellow, there isn't a lot of emphasis on making a connection between the work and like Headlands, although that is still considered. But it's less of like an obvious thing. So then selection process, Headland staff reviews to ensure application completion and eligibility. And then there is also an outside jury that gets selected to go through the applications. And then the jury evaluates each artist's materials and selects finalists, and then finalists are invited to present their work via Zoom to Headland's staff, which is different. It wasn't back in my day, we had to do this in person. And then a full application includes the following, which is a resume or CV, letter of interest, outlining your specific interest in working at Headlands, list of 3 references and email addresses, documentation of recent work, and an image date with all the details. I'm sure some of you have probably gone through this process once or twice. So any questions about the Turnstile Award? That'll be good. Be good. Oh, cool. The Artist in Residence program. This one is probably our biggest program because we have over 50 artists a year that come again from all around the world to join us at Headlands. It is a fully sponsored residency, including you get your flights covered. I think it's up to $1,000. You get a studio space at Headlands. You get housing at Headlands from anywhere between 4 to 10 weeks. And I think you get to pick how much time you want your residency to be. Let me see here. Yeah, you get to, I said you get to stay on site. You get meals Sunday through Thursday. A lot of our artists in the past, on Fridays and Saturdays, and Fridays and Saturdays will do meals at their house, and it's kind of another way for them to build community. You get access to Headlands vehicles because a lot of our artists come again from overseas. They don't have cars, so you get access to our vehicles that we have on site. So they love coming into the city and going to openings, going to shows, and participating in the community while they're here. And then, yeah, I think a lot of our other programs, it's here to support artists to explore and experiment and take their work to another level. The artists are encouraged to develop ideas and work with the context of Marin Headlands and part of the Golden Gate National Park. So a lot more like the Graduate Fellowship and the Bay Area Fellowship. We're just trying to find ways to, like, how do they fit into the history of what's been made here, and what are they going to make, et cetera, et cetera. And then, yeah, I guess one of the big goals is to bring national and international artists to the Bay Area. and to have that cross-cultural connection with local artists and audiences. So I've had tons of fun since I've been here in April, getting to know artists from everywhere, and you really keep those connections alive because we all connect on social media and follow each other, and it's really lovely to have friends that live everywhere. So it's open to artists not currently enrolled in academic programs at the time of their requested residency. We have had PhD candidates come through, and it's considered on a case-to-case basis. Former Headlands artists and residents or any recipient of these awards may not apply within 5 years of previous residency. But all other alumni Headlands programs are eligible to apply for the AIR program at any point. So if you get the grad fellowship, if you get the Bay Area fellowship, you're eligible to apply to the artists in residence program literally at any point. And we've had artists in the past that have had that happen. And then must be able to speak basic English. So this is mostly for international artists. I mean, we've had plenty of artists. I think Spanish is the second language on campus where most of us speak Spanish. So we've been able to communicate, but everyone, everywhere else they speak English. We're just we struggle sometimes. And then selection criteria, merit of past work, readiness to engage with and benefit from the residency experience at Headlands, and then potential to develop creative practice and impact the community at Headlands and beyond. And then similar to the other ones, Headlands staff review the applications once they're submitted, and then an outside panel comes in to evaluate each artist's materials and select finalists. And then finalists are invited to present their work in a 20-minute Zoom interview with the finalists selected soon after. Oh my gosh, that's it.
You did great. There was a lot of material to cover.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them honestly are they're not the same, but the one thing that they all have in common is like eagerness to participate in Headlands community, and just, continue on that history of like what we're all about here in the Bay. And that's like, it's very centered on the artist and like creating work and creating the space to be able to create that work. So I say this to everyone that comes through. I would say like 98% of the staff at Headlands, we're all artists. So we know how hard it is and what it's like to try to have time and space to create work. So when our artists are on campus, like we really work hard to like give them that space and the ability to really create what it is that they want to create, which is tons of fun. Like I love trying to problem solve things with artists and trying to figure things out. I mean, I do it every day when I'm making my stuff. So it's just like, it's really interesting. And it is, I mean, I will say like a lot of them are really competitive, but like also don't give up and keep trying. I got rejected every year from the Turn Us All Award, but I feel like I'm pretty amazing at the paintings that I do. I was also a grad fellow finalist, but I didn't end up getting it. My friend ended up getting it, but like, you'll keep doing this over and over again. But it's once you have like your basis of like documentation of work and like everything that you need for the application, save it and just like duplicate it and change it for every application that you do. Because then you can just start submitting like crazy. And I'm sure there's been workshops of like how to document your work and how to write an artist statement and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and for the artists and residents, the residency, a lot of people reapply year after year. So
yeah.
There are different committees, and something to keep in mind with your relationships with your professors too is, we have, the Headlands has had CCA professors and professors from all over be part of the changing annual committees that review work. So, it's always good to keep in mind that, you know, someone out there may actually know you, you know, from the classroom too. Can you speak a little bit to how, especially I think with the Bay Area Fellowship, with some of the departments here, like the curatorial department, the writing department, can you speak to like the different disciplines that are welcome?
Yeah, we encourage like all disciplines to apply. We have writers, we have poets, we have musicians that apply, dancers, visual artists, like literally all of the above. Our staff can pretty much accommodate, like we're pretty good at being able to accommodate everybody as far as their needs go. And if that's not the case, we will contract individuals from outside of Headlands to help with projects. So for example, you know, we have a couple publications going on right now, but like we don't have anyone on staff that does copywriting or image editing, et cetera, et cetera. So we outsource those resources for them to help them accomplish the work that they want to achieve. And again, we come in and help keep track of those budgets and that communication and keep everything nice and organized for the artists so that they, again, can just focus on the creative aspect of it. But yeah, we welcome individuals from all backgrounds in all practices. And our panel of jury, like our jury panel is pretty diverse in that way too. So we really we really try hard to make that happen, and that it's equitable.
And I'm curious, with the changing from 2 years to 3 years, was that a result of just, I mean, why did you make it longer? I mean, how is that working out better for the fellows?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that changed from our previous cohort to like this new one. I think this new year coming in has been the most drastic changes, and those were made based off direct feedback that we got from our previous cohort. Because it's such a deep relationship, we felt like 2 years wasn't enough to accomplish a lot of the goals that our artists had, because a lot of the time is spent planning. And it just, the timeline was just too short to make things happen in 2 years. And then the other thing that we did was, when the selection of artists happens, the selection of artists and then the start date, there is, I think, like 5 months in between when artists are announced and then the fellowship starts, so that they can use that time to plan on like what they want the fellowship to look like. So then when the artists get onboarded and start, we can just start working, and time isn't wasted just like trying to get settled in and trying to figure out exactly what it is they want to do. And then just knowing that artists make their calendars and plan things out from month to month and year to year. So if other opportunities come up, they'll just know in advance like how to work around it. So but yeah, the changes were made based off direct feedback from our previous cohorts.
Okay, no, that's great to know. I see there's a question in the chat for writers. The FAQ said say 1 to 2 full-length plays or scripts. So is that 120 pages per film or play, or should submissions be more conservative? Is there a max page limit for scripts? And if not,
I don't think there's no, there's not a max limit, but I would definitely probably try, let's see, 120 pages. I would probably lean more on the conservative side, just so that, because I imagine there's going to be a lot of our panelists reading through a lot of these. So if there's a selection out of those 120 pages that you feel kind of wraps everything into, or like that identifies exactly what it is you want to do, I'd probably submit that. And then probably no more. Me personally, I can't read. I cannot read. I mean, I can read. It's hard to stay focused and read. So I would probably say 50 pages, if that feels fair. But I can definitely look back to see what submissions look like in the past. Because I haven't come across, me personally, I haven't come across a lot of film play submissions. Did you emailed me? I feel like I got this email.
Layla, I don't know. I think the other part to the
Yes.
question,
Yeah,
oh,
I'm
there you
sorry.
are.
She did, I'm sorry, I'm saying she did. This is her mom, because she's at work.
Oh, that's
So
hilarious.
I'm actually sitting in this for her. So she actually did email you, I think, ahead of time. But
That's great.
sorry about that.
No, that's all good. I was like, I feel
It
like I
takes
saw
the
this in this
village, it
email.
takes the family. No, that's
No, I
great.
love it. Uh,
Aw.
yeah, I can definitely look back and see what other applications look like in the past and with the number of pages that artists were submitting, and I'll reply to the email. But I would definitely probably lean more towards the conservative side, just because I can imagine reading 120 pages.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'll reply to the email and stay connected. Thank you.
So with these, and please keep the questions coming in. You can unmute and hop on in or write in the chat. Because I know these are three pretty distinctive programs. I mean, with the residency, it can be 4 to 10 weeks. It's heavily diverse with international and national visual artists, correct? For the residency program. And but you always see at least one or two from California. And the Tournesol is just for painters and is a year long, but they do not live on campus, or they do live on?
They don't live on campus. No.
Okay, yeah, so I think for the residency, it would be full-time, you would not be working. You would be on site for your elected 4 to 10 weeks, but you have the option as a Bay Area artist, you can also, you don't have to stay on campus. You can be a resident, or be in the artist in residency program, but you can live at home if you're in the Bay Area, right? But you're still fully committed to like a full-time program while you're in residency. But the fellowships, which you said the first one, the graduate fellowship, which is by nomination, is 1 year, and you live off-site, correct? But you have a studio on-site. And then the 3-year Bay Area fellowship is you live off-site, you know, you work off-site, but you collaborate with your cohort. Is that correct? Versus working individually to develop your fellowship and to and you work with staff and whatever direction that takes, that's like an investment, but you could technically still be teaching or have another job. It's a
Yeah.
longer term investment. So those are and stipends come with, I guess, all of them, right? Including the residency? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, the only one that doesn't get a stipend is a grad fellow program. But we're
The
working
first one.
on
Okay,
hopefully evolving that for the future, because we like it's hard
sure,
being an artist and living in the Bay. So
for sure. Does
um,
anyone have any questions out there? I want to pause and be sure people can jump in.
I have a question. Is the Bay Area Fellowship open to graduating undergrads?
uh, I probably wouldn't recommend it just yet. You don't have to have an MFA to get it, but I would recommend probably getting your uh feet settled and like a clear trajectory of where you want to see your work to go before applying. Um, of course, you can always just apply and see what happens. Personally, I like applying to everything, even if I know I'm not going to get it, just so that I can see what the process is like, so that you know for future purposes. Um, but I would probably recommend waiting a year or two, and really like zoning in on where like you want to see your practice go, before like submitting, um, if that makes sense. But yeah, you should do it anyway if you
Yeah,
want.
no, yeah, no, good to like go through the submission process, like, and
Yeah,
shape up for that anyways.
yeah. Yeah, if you want to practice, I mean, it's only a $10 fee. I'll just waive your fee.
Yeah, no, definitely, I would,
Why not?
yeah.
I have a question. So if you're invited to the second round, where there's the interview process, I believe it is, can you explain more about what that looks like
The second round for which program?
for the
The-
Bay Area Fellowship?
Oh, yeah. So once you get into the second round, for the Bay Area Fellowship, that'll be a smaller cohort of about 6 artists. And that one is actually going to be in person, because we'd like to do a studio visit. And if you don't have a studio, we'll provide a studio at Headlands for you to like hang up your work, and like set it up. And it'll include staff at Headlands that will come in for the studio visit, in addition to the individuals that are on the panel. And then we'll just walk through and like, I'd like to say it's a lot like dating. Well, we'll ask questions and see what the relationship would look like, and feel out like the energies and like check out the work and see how it's going to fit into exactly what we're trying to accomplish and what the artist is trying to accomplish. So that one will definitely not be over Zoom. We'll probably have a couple of questions that we'll send in advance, to prepare, but it's going to be a lot less informal. So it's not like we ask you a question and like you answer. It's going to be more of a conversation. So, yeah, I think that's less stressful than the other ones, honestly, even though it's a bigger fellowship.
I have a follow-up question to that. Say, for example, your aspirations for the Bay Area Fellowship are to kind of extend past your primary medium that you work in. So it's like work's not been made yet, but this is what you would like to evolve into during the fellowship. What would you suggest an artist does in their second round then, if it's kind of like you're proposing things that haven't been made yet?
That's a very good question. But I guess an example I could give is we had an artist in our previous fellowship that was a performance artist, but when she came on, started doing ceramic work, which we absolutely supported, because it was a shift in, again, the direction of her work. And it's something that she just wanted to explore. So we completely understand that like the stuff that you're submitting with isn't the direction that you're probably going to end up going in, and that's totally fine. What we're really more interested in is seeing if you have a clear definition of where you want, like where you want to be, like what your goals are as far as an artist, and the relationships that you want to establish, and like themes, I guess. Like if you have a clear definition of like what your entire practice is about, and then just use that, and yeah, like feel free to explore whatever medium it is that you'd like to get into. And we kind of actually encourage it, because it's pretty great to see what like unfolds. Like Arlene, like I think Arlene is kind of known for a lot of the work that she makes is on, like, you hang it on walls, and it's 2D, but the work that we did in collaboration was a lot more like a performance. So and that kind of just happened and unfolded in that way, and it was amazing and wonderful. It was a very special evening. So
Thank you. And Jean, did you have a question?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Lindsay. I have a question. We're all watching on Jean's laptop.
Oh.
I have a question about the graduate fellowship. There's no stipend, correct?
correct.
So do you know if there are any sort of alternative funding options, either that we can apply to outside of the Headlands, or if the Headlands provides any sort of like extra? Because realistically, it's not the most accessible place to get to.
Mhm.
People do not have cars. People have to pay for rent. I live in the city. Rent in the city is very expensive, so it just doesn't seem like, even if you get the graduate fellowship, I don't know how like feasible it is to like
Mhm.
financially. So can you talk a little bit about that? That's the only fellowship that doesn't have a stipend, which
Yeah.
is a bit
Yeah.
disappointing.
Yeah, so we've been identifying that, and I guess I will say it's definitely the most, it is hard. Like I worked with a handful of our artists this year, again, putting together resumes, going over job applications, trying to find housing for them, and trying to help get them settled just so that they can like participate in the fellowship, right? So it is something that we have identified that it's not equitable compared to all the other programs that we have. But I will be that person that helps like find additional resources for you, and like we can work together on those applications, getting them sent, and making that happen. I think our first step, is based off the feedback that we got from our previous cohort, is, you know, at least having the toll paid for. It would have been huge for them, because, you know, these artists, a lot of our artists in the grad fellowship are coming from the East Bay. Some of them are coming from SF. Some of them have multiple jobs. It's hard. Um, but I'm here to support that, and then hopefully, in the next coming years, we can find a way to kind of amplify, that program so that it aligns with all the other ones that we're doing. But yeah, like it is hard, and I think had I gotten the fellowship when I was a grad student, I wouldn't have been able to do it because I worked full time, 3 days after graduating at RAI, which is on the complete other side of the city, and I didn't have a car at that time, so it kind of made sense. Like I'm kind of glad that I didn't get it because I don't think I would have ever been out there. So, but yeah, hopefully that changes soon.
And I had just a question, and we do have 5 minutes left, so think of your questions too. But what sort of, maybe you could speak a little bit to the exposure opportunities to our professionals, curators, et cetera, and the different programs?
Yeah, like, you know, those opportunities they're kind of work in collaboration with everyone else in the community. Because a lot of us that work there come from a bunch of different places and are constantly bringing in different people from all over the community, like all over the place, honestly. And a lot of this engagement, happens at our dinners because we like to invite different organizations. So I'm working on we have Kala coming to dinner in a couple of weeks, because they hosted one of our Bay Area fellowships. So it's like as a thank you, we're like come over to dinner. So their staff and some of their artists are going to come to dinner. We've had Part 2 Gallery, where Brock brought the group of artists for a tour. We did studio visits, and all the artists got to sit with our artist. All of Brock's artists got to sit with our artists for dinner. We're inviting Palo Alto Art Center because they also hosted a Bay Area fellowship for us, and kind of like it was a favor, so we're inviting them up for dinner. A lot of the times too, we end up going to other organizations. We make a huge effort like getting out, and inviting groups out to the city to go to openings and exhibitions. Our members dinners are another opportunity. Those our members come from all different places across the Bay and all different professions. So we'll ask artists to open up their studio and showcase their work so that they can like have that relationship. So yeah, I mean, open houses, again, you'll see everybody from all over the community come to those. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunity for that. And it's kind of my favorite part of all of it because I'm an introverted extrovert. I love like making connections, but then I also shut down at the end of the day. But yeah, I hope that
Awesome.
answers.
Yeah, no, it's great. And the open houses are super fun. On the website link that I put at the top of the chat, you'll see different things that are going on throughout the year. And for any of you, you know, still in school or just starting school or in your first year at CCA, I don't know where everyone's at, but just plugging into the Headlands community is huge. And it's an important part of our ecosystem, and seeing what is going on just by going to the open houses, like on an international level, is, another extension of your education. And yeah, it's a central community, even though it's in Marin, it's very much a very significant opportunity or place in the Bay Area. And if you do get one of these fellowships, it can be tremendous for your career. Not only just the opportunities to return, but the network that you create. So it definitely is a big deal. People of all levels apply and reapply. So this is one of the places you apply 1 to 5 or more times sometimes, and you just have different people on the committee, and you just never know, but yeah, so we're so grateful you're here. Are there any other questions? I definitely want to give.
I have one.
Mhm.
So it's about the Bay Area Fellowship again. What's really appealing about that fellowship is the malleability of it. It's very open-ended. So I was curious to know if, say for example, year one, you're really interested in researching something like this specific subject matter or theory, and you might be interested in speaking with, for example, a certain professor at Stanford. Could the Headlands kind of get involved with facilitating that meeting or like a studio visit? Like, what if you want to reach
Yeah.
out to folks that are just not in your network?
Yeah.
But, I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fun part about, I've been here 10 years now, and I came from Stanford to Headlands, and I'm still very part of the community there. So there's definitely and even if I wasn't, there's definitely still a way in, because we have the grad fellowship program that they participate in. Um, so we'd be more than excited to make those connections, and they have happened in the past with different institutions that our artists have wanted to work with. So yeah, I would there is somebody between all of us on staff at Headlands. We've all kind of been everywhere, literally also all around the world. And yeah, chances are somebody knows somebody that knows somebody, and we can bridge those communications.
Are studio visits a part of the fellowship as well, like arranging studio visits?
Yeah. So if you help, if you want to identify somebody, we'll definitely reach out to them. I worked last year with one of our Xiaofeng. I think it's so funny, who wanted a studio visit with Maggie Defloff, who's a curator at Cantor, who I'm really good friends with. So I put them together, and they were able to put a studio visit together. And Kristen Gonzalez Ho, again, who's a PhD student at Stanford, is curating the exhibition. So he recently did studio visits last week. He was on site doing studio visits last week. And there's definitely interest from individuals wanting to come and do those too, from all over the place. So
And
I'm happy to.
that could be out of state as well, like people that are just not in California.
I can't promise that they'll come out to California for a studio visit, but if you're open to an online Zoom studio visit, that there's potential there. But as far as flying people out here, unless they have other reasons to be in the Bay, I feel like that's kind of, I think it's more realistic that there will be over Zoom.
Yeah,
which is great that that's a thing now, because again, back in my day, 10 years ago, you had to show up with your work. Crazy.
Yeah, I just think about access, you know what I mean? As an artist, you may aspire to speak to certain folks or be in discussions about things.
Yeah.
When I wrote the book that you're reading, but you just
Yeah.
know you won't get through if you email them directly yourself.
Yeah, I totally feel that. And we're also trying to find ways to give our artists more of a platform. I'm constantly thinking of ideas of right now we don't have any kind of studio visit. I think it would be cool to do studio visits just one-on-one with artists, recorded, and just pop it online onto a YouTube page so that people can Google the artist and find it. I'm thinking of like podcasts. I was like, why, like podcasts are so easy. And like, I'm an artist and I listen to podcasts when I'm painting and drawing. How cool would it be if like we did podcasts with all our artists just so that we can put it on a platform and have it available for people to listen? I mean, we're constantly having conversations about art and like what it's like to be an artist and like things that we're working on. All we have to do is hit record, edit it a little bit, pop it online, and it'll be there forever. So yeah, trying to find different ways, explore different opportunities to give exposure. I'm all about it.
And there has been extended programming too, like with Brick in Brooklyn, New York. I know alumni who from the Headlands who have through the Headlands partnership had opportunities to speak, at Brick or so, I've been following some of the great benefits that occur after the physical time artist or writer is at the Headlands. So just finding a way to be part of the community can have endless benefits. And
Yeah,
well,
and that's kind
yeah,
of the way to do it in the
I
Bay,
know.
honestly. Like it's all about the community that you establish and build here. Literally right before this call, I was talking to our two previous interns, Isaiah and Jenna, who both came from Berkeley. Isaiah lives in New York, and Jenna's here, and they're both trying to find work. So I'm putting them in connection with some friend, Isaiah specifically, with 3 friends that I have in New York. One that works at the Queens Museum, who's in HR, and he's going to help them. Like they're meeting up to hang out to talk about goals and stuff. So it's all about the community that you build, and like you lean on that community, and like you really got to think of it as like don't always look to like network like vertically, think horizontally and think about the people that are at your side, because again, people know people that know people, and I feel like a lot of people I know end up accomplishing the things and ideas that they have in mind because the community that surrounds them is there to like support, and they come back in the same exact way. So yeah, build with your people.
Well, I'm so happy that you joined, and we both are SFAI alumni and people from a while back and people today. So yeah, I'm really grateful that I got to connect with you and that you were able to share your amazing programs with us today. And Ileana will be back in April to speak in more detail about the residency program, but the deadline's coming up for the fellowship. Can you tell us the date again for the Bay Area Fellowship?
For the Bay Area Fellowship, it's March 15th.
March 15th.
So,
Okay.
yeah, we extended it a month.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking
So,
it might be February. Yay. Well, good.
Yeah.
So if you have any follow-up questions, I put Ileana's email at the beginning of the chat. And thank you so much for your time today. And thank you everyone for attending. So good to see
Yeah.
you.
Thanks,
I'm
y'all.
sorry, one more question. Miss Ileana, are you going to email Leah directly?
Yes. Yeah,
That would be great.
I'll get an exact answer to the question and I'll respond to the email for sure.
Okay, thank you so much.